How to stay ahead of the curve to supersize and grow your business. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. This is an example of the bell-shaped curve. Yes, I drew it. I know it's crooked and everything else, but it's just to get the idea and remind us of what a bell-shaped curve is. Now, this idiom, this expression, they suspect it came from the military, most probably, but they're not sure. It could have something to do with flying, literally, but it also means that, why it's the bell-shaped curve, and it often refers to that, is because the bell-shaped curve is statistically one of those phenomena that occurs in almost everything that we measure. I like to think for ahead of the curve as early adopters to a product or service or a technology or an idea. When an idea is new, you have early adopters. There's a few people that will start to try it and use the new technology or the new product or the new idea. And then after it becomes popular and more people hear about it, all of a sudden the majority of the people are using it. And then over time, fewer and fewer people question or use or the idea or are using the technology, or new technology comes in and replaces it, for in the example of technology. So if you're ahead of the curve, it means that you are one of the first to change to a new idea, a new way of doing things, a new technology, a new technique, a new strategy, and usually before it becomes popular and by the general population. So how do you be ahead of the curve? Why would you want to be ahead of the curve? Why is it important to be ahead of the curve in your industry, in your market, for your customers than other people? Well, because history shows that the vast majority of people who are first in an industry or who create their own industry or their own specific segment of an industry garner the vast majority of that market share. And once they get the majority of the market share, it's hard for number 2 and number 3 and number 2,000 to compete with them, because once you get the lion's share of the market share, first to market tends to be the companies that dominate that market. So how do we stay ahead of the curve in our business, in our industry, in whatever it is that we're doing? There's several ways we can do that. Number one, we can start by setting our own standards, by setting our own standards for the industry or the business that we're in, by actually creating our own industry, doing it ourselves and coming up with who we want to serve is a good way to segment and set yourself apart in an industry. But over time, as you become successful, more and more people and more competitors will pile on. Another way is to do the opposite of what everybody else does. Now, this is counterintuitive, right? It's like, oh, shouldn't I just set up the same type business that everybody else is setting up? No, absolutely not. You have to find a way to distinguish and differentiate yourself so people know if you are for them or not. If you're just another business consultant among the sea of business consultants or life coaches or dentists or chiropractors or doctors or whatever, if you don't distinguish yourself in some way, people can just grab the yellow pages, they can look up somebody, anyone in your industry, and they can go to that person and get the same products and services that they would get from you. If you're in that category, it's time to find a way to stand out, to differentiate yourself, to find what is the reason people should come to you. So you want to do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. Now this, again, I've done most of my life, and sometimes it gets me in trouble, but for the most part, it keeps me out ahead of what other people are doing in my work life or in my home life, etc. My son was in school, and he had learning differences, and we wanted to be able to use a laptop computer for him. I wanted to be able to have him use the technology that was available to help him more easily succeed in school versus struggling. And we were ahead of the curve before our time, and it was a big battle with the school system. I mean, a continuous battle. Maybe you can relate if you've had learning differences or challenges yourself, or if you wanted to do something different than the way everybody else was doing it, you might be able to relate to what I'm talking about. But we ended up not being able to do that, and only less than a decade later, less than even 5 years later, every kid at the school had a computer and was able to use a computer. So things change, but there's an example of being before your time, ahead of your curve. Hey, computers are coming. They're going to be the wave of the future. Let my kid use his computer. And it was just a huge deal with the school system, and we ended up having to find other solutions to that particular challenge. What's another thing you can do to stay ahead of the curve? You can do things better than everybody else does. You can find a new process, a new way of doing something that's been done, that's the results been gotten before, but maybe you can find a way that makes it faster, easier, more efficient, or more effective to provide that result for people. You can take it further than everybody else. So maybe everybody else, let's think of an example. Everybody else does something a certain way and gets people a certain result, but you take them beyond that result and address the problems. Whenever we solve a problem for somebody, it creates other challenges or problems in their life. So you don't just address the main problem. Maybe it's educating your kids. Maybe it's growing sales for your business, getting leads into your business. You take people a step further and you continue to help them even after getting them the first result or helping them get the first customer. You don't just help them get the first customer, you help them get the first 1,000 customers. Whatever it is, take it a little bit further for everybody else. You can be ahead of the curve by doing the unexpected, the new, the different, by doing things differently, by changing things up. One of the fastest, easiest ways to do this, I found, was taking something that you learned in a different industry or a different business and applying it to your current business. It is so amazing to me that more people don't do that, because the skills and the abilities that we learn in any job or business are almost always transferable to another business. If I learn how to lead a team in one business, I can go to any organization, any business, either with respect to my business or my personal life, any group or club or organization that I might want to join, and I can be and transfer those leadership skills, those team leadership skills that I learned to that organization. So that's one of the quickest ways to do that too. And then you want to make sure that you're dominating your field. The niche, the group of people that you choose to serve in your industry, in your field, you want to be the go-to expert in that area. What are some of the actual practical ways you can do this? Well, you can reuse existing resources in new and different ways. One of the things I liked to do was take the waste. I have a lot of experience in manufacturing. I like to look at what were the byproducts of the products we were manufacturing and producing, and what else could we do with that waste. In the bakery industry, if the loaves of bread didn't look perfect, we wouldn't sell them to our primary customers, but we could sell them to a feed manufacturer who made food for animals, actually pig food primarily, but food for animals. So we took the waste that was over $500,000 a month in just, product waste, food product waste alone, and we turned that into another stream of income for our business. You can reposition yourself by meeting your customers' needs better. So take the group of people that you serve and find more different creative ways to solve their problems and serve them better. Maybe you improve the customer experience and they have a better customer experience with you than anybody else in the industry, and that's your differentiation point. Rethink your own value proposition, what it is that you provide for people, what's the value of that to them. You can embrace the wisdom of the crowd. Again, everybody's got you niching down narrower and narrower and narrower, but when we do that, we find that we're serving maybe 1% of the population, and we need to do that when we get started. But as we get going in our business and want to supersize and grow our business, we want to appeal to more and more people. So we can pick other groups of people and pockets of people to serve to the best of our ability and give them exactly what they want. Or we can look at what are some bigger projects and processes and systems and solutions that we can provide to people that are that they're asking for. We want to ask the people and embrace what they ask for and make sure we're continuing to serve them and give them the best that we possibly can. We could take a more creative approach to execution, how we serve those people. We can also, I found a really interesting piece on how to keep ahead of your industry and 10 tips to do that. I'm going to run through those really quick because I thought it was a great list. Number one, how do you keep up with the trends in your industry? And the way you stay ahead of the curve is by keeping up with what's going on in your industry and the trends in your industry. You can be a voracious reader. My friend Apple would love this one. This was number one on the list. Read all that you can on your industry, your market, the world in general. Number two, get involved in your industry. Don't just sit back and watch what goes on in your industry. Be an integral part of that industry. Join the organizations that support your industry. Be a leader in those organizations. Number three, network. Number four, Keep in touch with your customers. Our customers are our greatest source of information. They will tell us everything we need to know to serve them to the best possible ends of the universe and back if we just ask them and have conversations with them. Monitor your business. Keep track of your results and your numbers. Pay attention. Know what's going on in your business. Not everybody else's business, your business. What business is the most important business in the whole wide world? Your business is. Number 6, study statistics and pay attention to statistics. Look for that bell curve. Know what things mean. Know what's going on in your industry and what the statistics are. Is your industry growing or dying? And what does that mean for you? Don't be the buggy whip salesmen that find that their product is obsolete because we're traveling by car and not by buggy and horse and buggy anymore. Number 7, observe your competition. Watch what your competition is doing. Do not copy them. If you're copying anybody, literally copying them, you're always losing. That is my opinion, of course. Number 8, get out of the office. Get out and about and find out what's going on in your world. Think outside the box. Think of problems in different ways. Think of solutions. Be solution focused. Think of problems and situations and how you can solve them for your customers in ways that nobody else is doing. And finally, think long term. Don't just think, what am I going to do? What's the quickest, easiest, fastest solution right now? Think 5 years out, 10 years out, 20 years out, if you want to supersize, grow your business, and have longevity. So those are just some of the fun ways that you can stay ahead of the curve. I personally have an affinity for this particular idiom and an expression. I can share that another day, why I do, but love to know what you think about it. How has it impacted your life, your business? Are there any questions you have about how you could apply this or use this in your business right now? If so, hit me up. I actually am trying out a new tool on Facebook where you, and on this particular video where you can direct message me. Try it out. Let's see if it works. Otherwise, have an awesome day, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow with another leadership idiom, doing leadership idioms for the rest of the month, and what it means, where it comes from, and how you might use it in your business and maybe even in your life. Have an amazing day. Bye. Get ahead of the curve.